My name is Faye Sahai. I am the founder and global partner of Mirai, as well as which does innovation consulting for a lot of corporations. And I'm a managing director of Vinaj, which actually has a venture fund investing in startups. And I've also been advising on inclusion. So for me, innovation, inclusion, and impact is my gig from that. But previously, I led the innovation for AIG and Kaiser Permanente in innovation and advanced technology and digital business. There's their innovation labs, innovation funds, and centers, and also worked at Blue Shield, Schwab, Deloitte, several others. And here is a little picture referring to my great kids and family, but they're college kids, taller than me, and also mother-in-law as we're sheltering in place. So hope you and your family are healthy. I see Joyce there joining as well. So wonderful. So I wanted to start off with why. I think especially right now, it's so important that we start off with why. We know there's so much going on, but asking yourself why, what drives you, what motivates you, your team, your company, before you start a strategy. Maybe you're looking at a certain customer group. Ask why, what value will it bring for them? And then jump into the how and what. Our natural tendency is to jump into the how and what first. And we might not realize that it is actually resolving the kind of initial intent, the needs of our customers, the needs of our family, our community. So really starting off with why. So I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek from that standpoint. Wanted to go then to the next one, and really as kind of our Women Network and Technology, we know that technology is transforming our communities, our companies, and the world. And I wanted to kind of check in with all of you too, to really say as it's kind of transforming our industries. I think with the COVID virus, we really have seen how it's changing healthcare. And how before, our doctors, you might not have been able to see them via video and phone, but now that's where we're at. We are now seeing them through video and phone. We're getting our pulse and glucose reading from our smart watches. We're getting our banking online. We're engaging and talking and Zooming with people 24/7 and really engaging. So we really see a transformation happening. And what's going to happen post-COVID? It's going to be an interesting time as we look at it. I wanted you to type in your chat box, and I see Manny's joined us as well. What is your favorite innovation? It could be the iPhone. It could be artificial intelligence. Manny, you're a virtualization leader. It could be all those capabilities there. Jessica, what is your favorite innovation? So just go ahead and type in the chat function. What is your favorite innovation? Oops, sorry. Okay, Tableau, Jessica. Ooh, wonderful. Your analytics. So as we kind of go, I've been monitoring a lot of different innovations going in, and Manny, the cloud. I definitely expected to hear that from you. You're a champion of the cloud. Here, I've been monitoring several innovations. I'm going to go through several slides on this, but we see that the sharing economy is not only something that we saw with Airbnb, sharing economy of our houses, sharing economy of our cars, our bikes, our homes, but it's going to become more pervasive even in the business side of like sharing warehouse space, sharing equipment in the hospital and where we're going. But then we also see, and I think as Manny's kind of with the cloud has enabled the Internet of Things, sensors, so everything. There's going to be billions and billions of sensors all around in everything, from smartphones to smart lights to smart cars to smart, nanotechnology in your roof for solar, as well as it's hard to believe that our phones just, are just a decade plus in our lives. We can't. It's hard to remember what it was like without the smartphone, and it's going to continue. And we've also seen the power of social media and where it's going. So as we look at it, we also see autonomous vehicles. And you might have noticed I said vehicles versus just cars. We have, autonomous flying cars. That's the one I'm really excited about, is actually flying autonomous vehicles. So you can fly over all the traffic. But also smart cities, smart environments. So as we start looking at our cities, we've noticed a lot of the pollution clearing away and shelter in place. But as we start looking at that, and whether it's environmental, sound, health, traffic, violence from that, we see a lot of the cities getting engineered for the future. So now pair the autonomous vehicles and smart cities, we probably don't need parking lots anymore. We don't need stoplights anymore. We're going to redesign for the future. Maybe it's more parks, more enjoyable, walkable cities, things we can engage in. So excited about where that can go and kind of our future environments. But now add drones and robotics. We've seen drones delivering medication, drones delivering pizza, drones monitoring shelter in place. Drones giving announcements, robotics doing delivery, robotics manufacturing. We've seen 3D and 4D printing. And I see 4D printing is a new innovation coming in place where you now add another dimension. You can add time or heat or water, and it will alternate the object you've done with 3D printing. And you might ask, well, what value is that? So imagine you've now made a prosthetic for a child that has lost their limb. And as they're growing right now, they have to get a new prosthetic limb. But if it's 4D printed in the future, that prosthetic limb can expand and grow with them. So say if it was on the arm, it actually can expand with the heat and the growth and pressure from that and cost. We see a lot happening in nanotechnology and micromaterials. You see from that little chip there as well. So, things that were a lot of things is like, if you look at some of our tests that kind of explore what's happening in our body, you can imagine, let's swallow a smart pill that has a camera rather than these invasive surgeries to see what's happening. So here are some that are really coming along, and some things that I thought you should watch out for too is the genomics and medical bioinformatics. We see that in a lot of the virus. Is there any implication in our DNA and how we're responding to coronavirus? How are we going with vaccines? But then we also see the data and artificial intelligence in that point. But we also, with all this data, with all this technology, with all this smartness, we need to worry about cybersecurity and privacy, and really consider that and be very thoughtful and mindful in that as well. And what's coming new on is quantum computing. There's definitely been some pilots that will allow us to go faster, accelerate more data, and that will enable more things. So from blockchain, and some of you might have heard that with the digital currency. If we have quantum computing, that will allow even faster blockchain. Right now it's restricted on kind of the number, but you can actually kind of see that, like, will we not really have currency in the future? Will that really be taken over by electronics? So a lot of interesting innovation and technology that can really kind of disrupt. And so here's a quick kind of summary of some of the trends that I've been following and watching and looking at. Is I think it's really going to be about personalizing, predicting, and preventing. So we're going to use all this data and AI and self-service to really personalize it for yourself, to help predict and prevent things from happening, whether it's your health, an accident. That the consumer experience is going to be critical. We know now people's adoption of all the apps, but if it's not frictionless, automated, and engaging, they don't log back in. Extended reality is then next about how do we combine these real and virtual environments, virtual reality, augmented reality, and really use that to help us inform. It could be changing our education, how we learn about things, how we kind of operate from that standpoint. And everything's going to get connected and be smarter and faster. So with the Internet of Things, quantum, and data. But this then kind of goes to, I think we see it now. We really need to reboot our purpose of the why, and kind of how I initially started. Why are we doing the things we're doing? How are you building the digital trust with the people we're working with? How are we looking out for their privacy and information? How are we going to be cyber secure? I think as we've seen the coronavirus, the whole nature of work and education could potentially really shift. We know we can do it virtually. We know what we can't do virtually. What can we do with the remote distributed teams? What technology and infrastructure do we need in place? But then it makes us question too, can we do it more affordably? Does college education need to cost $70,000 a year? Can we be more fair and distributed in that? And given all the events that have been happening here, I think it is very important that we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion from that standpoint. So feel free to put in questions, comments. I know, Joyce, you've been working a lot in the area of diversity, inclusion, and HR innovation from that standpoint. So the point here is what happens when we do all this wonderful innovation and technology without diversity and inclusion in our workforce, and how we're thinking about the products and how we're developing it, how we're coding it. What happens is what you see some of these headlines here. You have voice recognition that doesn't understand accents. When my mom first tried to use Siri and send me a text message, it was the funniest thing because it didn't make any sense. It couldn't understand her accent, and we were just crying, laughing. But then think of it. It's not really a good joke, right? It's like it did not meet kind of those needs. As we look at facial recognition, especially now it's starting to use in more police and other, it's not accurately being able to recognize other ethnicities, and you could falsely accuse someone of facial recognition. You could falsely get into someone's account from that standpoint. So, and we're all you kind of mentioned here, right? If you start looking at it, we don't really create innovative technology products and in it for the world. It's really kind of shared. So everyone throws a lot of words around of diversity and inclusion. So I wanted to kind of explain what I mean to it. Diversity is kind of like the mix of thinkers. It's another analogy that's often used is who you're inviting to the dance. It's a whole mix of people that you're inviting, who you're recruiting for your company, that whole mix of perspectives. Inclusion is getting that mix to collaborate, getting that mix to dance, getting that mix to interact, to innovate together, and really leverage all their unique perspectives. So it's only in the force when you add them both together that it works. Because you could recruit all the diverse thinkers there, but if you don't have an inclusive work environment, team environment, those diverse thinkers are not going to feel valued, not going to be leveraged and lead. So I think it's really important to have both, and especially important to have innovation. So here are some stats. You might ask, well, diversity, inclusion, and innovation, why are you putting those together, Faye? For me, research shows that the greater you have a diversity inclusion, the better performance and more innovation you'll have. Whether it's 45% increased growth in market share, 70% of new markets, being able to detect those unintended impacts of the emerging technology, like some of the ones I just showed you of the computer vision and voice recognition of accents. And research shows that even one leader that shares your target customer's ethnicity, the entire team is 152% more likely to understand that customer. So that empathy, understanding, having it represented at the table is so critical. As our customer base becomes more and more diverse, global, with increasing different demands, it's even more important that we're more diverse and inclusive. So with that, we've seen increased product innovations and increased resilience, especially in this time. So which square, put in the text, put in the chat here, what colors are the square A and B? Are they the same? Are they different? Just type it in. You might have said, a lot of people say different. So that A and B are actually the same color, and it's our unconscious bias with our thinking, because we're looking at the shadow of the cylinder, the concept of a checkerboard. And even now you might have to stare at it a little bit more to know that to overcome our fast brain and our unconscious bias, that those are different colors. So this is one thing that we talk about our bias. It's sometimes so unconscious that, and it's something that that we just need to pause and use our slow brain to ask a question and look at it from that perspective. So what I ask is that, just that pause to take it from someone else's perspectives, to walk in their shoes, to look at other companies, to observe other things, to challenge yourself, look at simulations that really understand that bias. So you can go on the implicit.harvard.edu and actually take these, confidential self-assessments on all different things about what implicit kind of biases you have. And I definitely encourage it. That picture on the left-hand side is me after having I fell downstairs and had 7 fractures on vacation in Portugal. And I had to be in a wheelchair, a walker, crutches, and physical therapy. And that experience opened my eyes of what it's like to be disabled in Europe and the US. And have you ever noticed that the disabled bathroom stall is the farthest away from the door? And I'm like, really? And that there is no automatic doors for a bathroom. So I used to have to wedge my walker in the bathroom and then try and go in before the door closed on me to get into the bathroom, then let alone walk the farthest way to the stall. So how we kind of design, how we think about things, and the kind of empathy is important. So just to encourage you guys for that. As we're looking, I know we're running out of time from this standpoint, but these will be up. But as you look at skills of the future, how you can innovate virtually, really think about how you can be inclusive and empower and hold accountable with courage and humbleness to have that psychological safety, not only for diversity, inclusion, and innovation in your group. So again, be aware, educate yourself, be that role model, and listen to create that. And there are free tools and resources. I think they're going to have this recorded, so you can get free tools on exponentialtalent.com, sign up for a briefing, and just wanted to recommend some great resources out there.